1, a 2, we know what to do. Hey, welcome back to another week with Title Talk with Title Leap. I am James Brown, the founder of Title Leap and attorney at James Brown Law.
And I am David, closer for New Path Title and Chief Development Officer for Title Leap.
Today we're going to talk about when spouses need and not need to be available for closings, and when property is titled to one spouse and not another.
Okay. So, Jim, this has been a big, major issue lately.
Big major
issue.
This week, for some reason.
Yes, we've had at least 3 or 4 instances where closing almost fell apart because people didn't understand the fact that their spouses needed to join in on a deed or a mortgage or whatever. So, what is the point of all this exactly? If I am married and why does my spouse have to join in the mortgage if she's not signing the note or she didn't qualify for the loan?
So, Florida Homestead law says that a married party, and when there's a married party and title to one of the spouses in the marriage, the non-titled spouse has an interest in the home. They call it a homestead interest in the home. So the Florida Homestead is very powerful, and it provides non-titled spouses interests in the property. Just without going into detail on what those interests are, just think of it like, even if they aren't named in title and it's the primary home, they have an interest in the property. They are treated like a title holder.
Okay.
From a lender's perspective and from a conveyance perspective.
So a title holder, that doesn't necessarily mean that, hey, you're borrowing the money, hey, you have to pay back the money or anything like that. It's just acknowledging that this is your homestead, we're putting a lien on it.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. So we'll have another discussion at Title Talk coming up about the differences between mortgages and notes, but you touch upon the most important element for this discussion, and that is a mortgage doesn't create liability, but a mortgage lender typically wants the non-titled spouse to sign the mortgage.
Right.
So if the mortgage lender needs to foreclose, then the non-titled spouse, who would otherwise have arguments, has consented to the mortgage, signed the mortgage, and will not hold up the foreclosure by being a non-named party.
Gotcha. Okay, so essentially it's...
They agree. If you don't pay, you can foreclose. I'm not on title, but I have an interest from Homestead, and I signed the mortgage, so if my other spouse doesn't pay, I don't have any financial liability, but I'm not going to hold up the foreclosure.
And so then on the flip side of that, you're a seller, only you are named in title, it's titled as, marry a single woman. And then Mary gets married.
Mary gets married.
Mary gets married. She lives there as her homestead property, has homestead exemption, applied for it, and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Mary comes to sell.
Yep.
And during the time that Mary was married, the marriage did not go so well.
So now Mary's single again.
Well, no, Mary's still married.
Mary's still married, right.
She's in the middle of divorce proceedings or something to that effect. The husband is out in Argentina climbing mountains, who knows what. All right, but Mary thinks that
she's selling on her own.
She's selling on her own.
I owned it before the marriage. I owned it in her mind after the marriage, even though they're still married. No, she needs her husband's signature.
She needs the husband's signature regardless.
And we had that exact fact pattern come up this week.
Right.
And I'm going to give a tip to listing agents when you're on your listing appointment. Know what the deed says before you sit down, so you have these conversations.
Right.
So if you see Mary is a single woman when she acquired title, you might not ask any questions. But if you see Mary is married and you're only talking to Mary, then you want to say your husband's going to need to sign the listing agreement and be present for the closing and all those good things if this is the homestead property.
Right.
Now we're going to go into non-homestead property and other elements why you might want the husband to sign. But for homestead property, you want to have that conversation. I see you're married. The deed says married. The husband's not there. You just want to say in your listing appointment he'll be present for the sale. He'll be signing a listing agreement. Correct. And David brings up a good point. You may want to ask, even if it says Mary is single, you may want to ask, you haven't been married in the meantime, or something like that, because that can derail your closing. So I don't want to load you guys up with too much stuff, but in the back of your mind,
I mean, marital
Conscious of the
status.
marriage issue.
Yeah, the marital status at the end of the day is a very important issue, and it's probably a question if you're dealing with a single person, just to verify, hey, are you single or are you married? If you're married, oh,
Takes
where's your
2
spouse at?
seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you're talking about how many mortgages exist,
Right.
you want to talk about the marriage. That goes on your laundry list of listing appointment issues. The issue I want to talk about when it's not homestead property is there are many lenders who are going to require the signature of the non-titled spouse.
Right.
So generally, if it's not homestead and it wants to be, and you want to sell it or you want to mortgage it, you can do that without the signature of the non-titled spouse if we include non-marital language in the deed,
Right.
or the lender buys off on the mortgage. However, we have had many situations where the lender said, doesn't matter, we want the husband's signature on the mortgage. So if it's a refinance, or it's a buyer, or I guess you wouldn't have it in a buyer issue, but you could in theory.
No, I mean, like, yeah, no. If
But
they
in a
put,
refi,
are you talking about
certainly.
the seller? The seller was disposing of property.
I'm talking about when a mortgage is going to be signed and it's not homestead and the lender says we want the husband's signature anyways.
Right, right.
And so whenever there's a mortgage to be signed and there's only going to be one title holder, just be prepared, the husband may have to sign that transaction.
Correct. And then, like, same thing with the sell side. If it is not the homestead, and if we put non-homestead language on it, then yes, we would only need the one signature.
I'm looking at notes, and so what I want to also mention before we part company is the divorce fixes everything. So a lot of times, like in these transactions we were handling this week, somehow the spouse who was named in title got information from somebody that the divorce was pending, or we were getting a divorce and the sale was okay.
Right.
Typically that comes up in a fact pattern where one spouse wants to keep all the money. And they might tell you, they swear up and down, my spouse is unascertainable, we'll never find them, we can't figure out where they are, unlocatable. And then all of a sudden when they find out it's going to hold at the closing, they can come up with a phone number or whatever. But I'm not going to say it's bad faith all the time, but I will tell you that more often than not, what it turns out is one spouse wants to pull a fast one.
Right.
They want to make this sale happen while they think the ex is gone or the soon-to-be ex is gone, and they keep all the money. It's not going to happen, and we can do quickie divorces. We can do those consensual transactions, and there's collaborative divorce. There's a number of tools we have access to. And we can do that in those situations.
Along those same lines, Jim, buyers who might be in the middle of divorce, and spouse wants to purchase the property.
There you go.
Divorce is not final yet.
Yep.
Spouse is trying to buy it as a primary residence. Guess what? You still need the other spouse if that divorce is not final.
Right.
You will still need the other spouse. There is
Divorce
no way around it.
pending. The final order is coming in 2 or 3 weeks, and then the single spouse wants to one of the spouses wants to buy before that final order, and I've had them tell me, no, we're getting divorced. We are divorced. The final order is due in a few weeks, even a few days in one transaction. You've got to delay until after that final order is issued, or that party has an interest, the soon-to-be divorced spouse has an interest in a home, and they can make it difficult for you, for sure.
Right.
So that's all I have for today, David.
All right. Well, happy trails, Jim.
I'm not going on any hikes in Argentina.
Me neither.
Unfortunately. All right, you guys, have a good week. Call us, text us with any questions you have. Go to newpathtitle.com. You can get realtor support 24/7 from me personally, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.